This cave painting is from the site in Lascaux, France. It dates to the Paleolithic era, approximately 12,000 BCE, and it's one of the world's oldest known works of art. It's also graffiti, which makes graffiti the world's oldest form of personal expression and artistic style. This political caricature comes from the rubble that was once Pompeii, an ancient Roman city that was devastated by a volcanic eruption in 79 CE. The example is one of thousands throughout a city that seemingly was obsessed with stamping their mark onto the world. The next slide is going to be an inscription that translates to "Passed by here el adelantado don Monte Oñate" from the discovery of the South Sea on April 16, 1605. Oñate's is the oldest recorded piece of American graffiti, and the mesa in New Mexico where he carved it became a huge board for signatures of thousands. This is Jim Morrison, who died on July 3rd, 1971. He's buried in Paris, France. His monument is graffitied by masses of his fans and mourners, and it's immediately apparent how horrible and terrible of a loss Jim Morrison's death was to his community. Thousands travel here to pay homage to the Lizard King. Referred to as tags, these markings serve as a graffiti artist's signature. This tag in the middle, Wharf, seems to be a reference to the Star Trek Next Generation series and kind of reflects the artist's feeling of alienation. And the thing about tags is that they usually give some sort of insight into the artist's character. Now, the previous slides have shown examples of what commentators have dubbed vandalism, but you may have noticed that each example is representative of a different style. The realistic image in Lascaux, the caricature in Pompeii, the inscription at El Morro, and the Morrison tribute in Paris. I hope these demonstrate a clear case of graffiti as art over vandalism. Take, for instance, this mural of Yankee Stadium depicting the greats that played there and located in the Bronx. The detail is astounding, and this commemorative treasure should never be referred to as vandalism. Pay careful attention to these tags along the bottom, which give an interesting perspective about countercultural and popular cultural interconnections. This is the Estadio Azteca, Mexico City's legendary stadium where 2 World Cups were held. The government actually sponsored a makeover where graffiti artists came and covered the entire stadium in graffiti like this, and it united the inner city youth for a day of celebrating art history and sporting history. Maybe it's pieces like this that the commentators are referring to as vandalism. This is a portrait of Biggie Smalls' Christopher Wallace birth name. And obviously, you know, a picture this detailed and beautiful shouldn't be considered as vandalism. So what I'm trying to do is differentiate graffiti from vandalism, just enough to discuss its potential as legitimate art. These stencils of the same character, Biggie Smalls, are particularly compelling because they're located in Tokyo, Japan. Does this suggest graffiti's relevancy as a cross-cultural communicative device? Isn't vandalism? One notable pro-graffiti argument states that advertisements are vandalism. And with all the obtrusive and unattractive billboards that litter the city streets and highways, perhaps this is a pretty intriguing argument. One is left wondering why monetary concerns so blatantly overshadow artistic ones in today's society. If we can consent that graffiti is a phenomenon that's deeply entangled in humanity's artistic history, then it becomes possible to discuss its placement in the contemporary art scene. This painting by Damien Hirst is going to help us understand the motives of today's graffiti artists. It's actually the same painting after it's been defaced by Banksy, a notorious street artist from the UK. This defacement seems to be a declaration of what graffiti can do to traditional art forms: pervade, denounce, and redefine. What you can't tell by looking at it is that it just recently sold at Sotheby's auction house for $1.8 million. Here's the same piece, graffiti style, on the side of a building in London. Notice how every vestige of the Hirst painting is erased and the graffiti art comes into its own. The statement made by this art is truly powerful and awe-inspiring, and this public display of masterful craftsmanship is available free of charge. Well, what the revolution? This portrait of Super Obama is composed by a unique wallpaper graffiti technique and offers a powerful political message about local sentiments. The tag, me, in the center, it extends a little bit of further meaning about what this picture means and shows how graffiti can overlap over time. This is a highly evolved tag from an artist named Serum. It's a perfect example of how graffiti can combine textual components, and if you notice, each creature actually represents the outline of one of the letters in Serum. So you can trace each of these animals to spell the name. It reflects this sort of feeling of being bestial nature. This is another tag by the same artist. It's dedicated to one of his fallen friends by the name of Stevie. He's just intricately combined the name Stevie and the word infinity and melded it together in this one just beautiful piece of art that tells a story of another human being's life. This is actually viewed from the wrong angle. I want you guys to pay attention to this really extended leg. This is actually a pool right here, and this figure in the middle is actually a female swimming in the pool. I want y'all to look at what it looks like when you turn it around, and this kind of represents what I think the future of graffiti art is. Notice how it's three-dimensional. This is Julian Beaver. He's from London, and he's been doing this type of art for about 10 years. His subjects range from portraits to holes in the wall to Coke bottles, and he's pretty much littered the streets of London and other countries in Europe with this type of art, and it's really amazing. This building, I hope, also lends some sort of insight into where graffiti art is going. This is the Louis Vuitton building, and this picture was sort of commissioned as a sort of combining between that advertisement sort of aspect and the graffiti, kind of definitively saying that yes, advertisements are vandalism. And anyway, that's my presentation on graffiti, and I hope you understand what's going on.